You're prepared to meet your life partner, but so far you've been attracting insecure men who lack confidence and reliability. In today's episode, I'll be providing you with guidance on how to address this situation at the root cause. My name is Natalie Hughes. I'm a life mindset and manifestation coach who uses her platform and business to support professional women as they build the emotionally fulfilled, purpose driven lives they were created to lead. If you're an ambitious woman who wants to gain recognition within her industry, live an amazing love story, and experience an income that matches her massive impact, then you're in the right place. So, in your relationships, you've had the situation where you know the guy is interested, but he just doesn't show up. He says things like, I can't do this, and I'm not ready for anything serious. If you're attracting professional men, which you probably are as members of my community, then you're probably having an experience where the men treat dating you like it's a serious responsibility that they just don't have the resources to manage yet. Maybe they want to make more money first, or you're more successful than they are, and they feel intimidated by that because they can't take care of you financially, or they just don't know how to take care of a woman outside of providing for her financially. Either way, you're having an experience where the connections seem great. You like who they are as people, and you could see things being long term with them, but at the end of the day, they're not showing up ready for commitment. They're just not ready. And it would be one thing if you were just attracting one guy one time who wasn't ready. But it's another thing entirely when you're attracting guy after guy who always has something going on, right? There's always some huge drama or lack in his life that prevents him from showing up and committing to you the way that you want him to. And the reason why you're attracting the guy who just isn't ready is because of your father. I realized it recently as this wound was triggered for me. And as I looked back at the memories from my life, I realized that I wasn't close to my father, and he never tried to be close to me. He put in effort to be in my mother's life. My mother and father used me as a pawn in their relationship for years. My father claimed that he wanted to be in my life, to be a good dad and have a happy family together, just the three of us. But those dreams faded quickly after he'd move into our home, apartment, whatever. He wasn't actually interested in being a father. He wasn't interested in knowing me as a person. He wasn't invested in supporting me and my dreams. He wasn't responsive to my needs. Hell, he wasn't even aware of my needs at all. He didn't take care of me. He wasn't somebody I ever respected or had the desire to listen to at all. I had this growing disdain for him over the course of my childhood into adolescence. Looking back at my childhood experience and my father's behavior from an adult's perspective, I can see that he was an insecure man. He was an insecure man who didn't take responsibility for his own life. He didn't put in the effort to actually better his own life or to be a better man for his children. He didn't show up. And the women in my life made it seem like that's just how he was. I remember an experience from my childhood where my two sisters were telling me about my father. They were trying to comfort me, saving me from the heartbreak of abandonment in a way. They were saying that my dad loved me, but that sometimes he just wouldn't show up. And then there was experience way this experience that happened a million times. The way that my mother spoke about my father, she painted him as a selfish man who didn't truly love her. She painted him as a man who only wanted to use her for money or a place to stay, even. None of the women in my life ever spoke about him as a man who refused to grow up. They made excuses or talked shit about him, but they never really talked about the fact that at any given moment in time, he could have chosen to be a better man. There was nothing broken about him. They didn't expect him to show up. They expected him to be neglectful, and he was. My father was an insecure man that neglected himself and the people around him. My father was an irresponsible, and he was an avoidant man. He was avoidant of any real depth in his relationship with me. He didn't treat me like a person with worth. And you know my definition of self worth, right? Self worth is when you know that you are an important, significant person who matters and belongs. My father did not treat me like an important, significant person who mattered and belonged in his life. I was a great opportunity to get closer to my mother. I remember this time I was in my early teens and I was crying in the back seat of the car while my parents were sitting in the front seats making fun of me. My father mimicked the sounds that I was making as I cried, and he and my mother laughed like my pain was the funniest thing in the world. My father was a man who didn't love me, and through his behaviors, he taught me to expect, he taught me what to expect from the rest of the men in the world. I have been treated like shit by many men in my life, and every negative experience with a man can be reflected in an experience I've had with my own father. I actually spent so much time pushing him out of my energy and my mind that I didn't realize that it was his behaviors being reflected back to me. What I've realized most recently is that those experiences of men ignoring me completely because they just refused to do the inner work and take emotional responsibility of me, they can easily be traced back to the way that my father behaved. My father was a man who didn't love me, although he would tell you that he did. He was a man who didn't have a father that loved him, and he was surrounded by women who made excuses for him and who didn't hold him to any standard of excellence because he was the youngest child and only boy in his family, and that just spread out into the rest of his experiences in the world. My father died with nothing. No assets for us to inherit, no wife to handle funeral arrangements, no children that he had truly served in becoming women, purposefully living on the leading edge of creation by sharing their gifts with the world. He died with no meaningful legacy, just fun stories and memories with people who he never truly had to care for. There are experiences with like a cousin of mine where it's like, wow, you know him so much better than I did, and he wasn't your dad. My father was a man who didn't love me, and by not being responsible, supportive, communicative, open, vulnerable, or committed to being a great father, he taught me to expect that experience from men. And that's my point. Through your father's actions, he was communicating to you what you are worth and how you should expect to be treated. You want to know why you keep attracting the guy who is looking for every reason under the sun not to be deeply involved with you? You want to know why you keep attracting the man who just isn't ready to give you the commitment you're looking for? You want to know why you keep attracting the man who is emotionally avoidant and disinterested in being the best man he can be for you? Look at your father. And this is the part where I invite you to journal. What did your father teach you with his behavior? And what did you learn to expect from men as a consequence of that? Pause this episode and answer that question. Now, what you have written down is what you need to heal. Congratulations. Finding out what needs to be shifted is literally the hardest part. As far as my answer, if it was not already clear, with his behavior, my father taught me that men are cruel, distant, sadistic, irresponsible, and disinterested in who I truly am as a person. He taught me to expect men not to show up. He taught me to expect men to be unwilling to do the work needed to take care of me. He taught me to expect men to run away and hide from their responsibilities, especially if the responsibility includes taking care of me emotionally. Now that you know what needs to be shifted, it's time for you to get to work. As long as those experiences go unhealed within you, you will continue to attract men that don't show up. You will subconsciously seek out men that abandon you because you're telling a story that has no choice but to play itself out. We are living in a vibrational universe. The vibration you emit, it must manifest. So this means you will continue to expect that unsupportive behavior from men, no matter how unwanted it may be, until you begin to deliberately change that by building out a belief system that supports you in your romantic life. Right now, you're attracting unwanted men on autopilot. And you have to manually override your subconscious mind, which has spent your entire life telling the story that men are irresponsible, distant, and avoidant, right? That's the work that we're doing inside of the Love After Loss course. This life-changing program is the professional woman's guide to processing the pain of the past, opening up to love after heartbreak, and manifesting your soulmate. It's only when you build out a belief system that says men are responsible, supportive, communicative, open, vulnerable, and committed to showing up for you that you will ever be able to receive the man that God has created to love you. Until you do the work, you will continue pushing that man away with your free will. During module 2 of the course, you will completely shift whatever it is that you have written down in your journal today, because that's the module where you will address, heal, and shift those father wounds that taught you it was unsafe to trust, depend on, or be loved by a man. In that module 2, that workshop, oh my God, it's one of the greatest things I have ever created, and I am a woman who has created a lot of amazing things. You're also going to address, heal, and shift the father wounds that taught you to believe that men don't want to take care of you, or that they don't want to meet your emotional, physical, financial, or spiritual needs. The truth is that men want to show up for you. The truth is that your soulmate is the kind of man that shows up. He's the kind of man that puts in the work to be there for you because he wants this love just as much as you do. Do you believe that yet? Do you believe that men want to love you just as badly as you want to be loved? The Love After Loss course is where you learn how to believe and receive that love that you were made for. I believe that it's a part of your purpose to unite with your love. And I would love to support you too on your journey together through this course. You can learn more, read testimonials, and enroll by using the link in the show notes. I love you, and I will talk to you again tomorrow because today's episode was a little bit late. Okay, bye.